As usual, here at this point of the week on a Tuesday morning, we bring in Dr. John Braccio from Regional Psychological Services in East Lansing. It's our psychologically speaking segment, if you will, of the program. I'm going to talk a little bit about regrets that you may have, lifelong regrets. You wish that you hadn't done something at some point in your life, and it's kind of catching up to you, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you wish that you had done something but didn't. Let's bring in Dr. John Braccio right now to discuss that. Dr. Braccio, good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning to you, Rich. I always enjoy being with you when Dave is gone. And
likewise.
Well, thank you. I think it's safe to say that all persons have regrets of some type, of whatever they might be, and they generally do relate to things they haven't done or wish they had done. And I think some of these, and I'd just like to mention some of these that would be typical, would be not even having a situation of not having dated someone or wishing an attempt had been made, or not developing friendships that in retrospect the person wishes had been done, not going into a career where true passion existed, or going into a career or marriage others wanted that you felt forced into, wasted time worrying about things that never did happen. And this is a huge thing. All the time people worry, and then not resolving conflicts with persons in the past or even going into the present, turning down a job or a location in the country the person wanted to live, or a career that was desired and not taken, working too much, losing a marriage or a relationship with children, family, and friends due to inappropriate behavior, the belief that parenting or and spousal relationship were not desired or were not as desired as they wish they had been, not completing important goals in life, being too serious and not enjoying so much that life has to offer, and that's true for many, guilt for things done or said in the past that have not been resolved or have not resolved at all, actually, or choosing work over family and friends, looking after and pleasing others to the neglect of self. So if you look at these, and I'm sure there's even others, but this gives you an idea of just how many things people can regret. We don't talk a lot about this, but it is something that I certainly see in my work. So I think it is really important that as we look at these regrets and we analyze which they are in our life, that we then come up with a plan in terms of trying to resolve them, actually. Like, what can be done with things like this? And I do have some suggestions on that also, Rich, if you'd like me to go into those right now, which I can do.
Absolutely. And before you get into that, Dr. Braccio, you know, these are some interesting examples here. You know, I'm one of those, and a couple of these fit into my life. You know, a lot of people get asked, you know, if you had a chance to redo high school, for example, would you do it? A lot of people I know would say no to that. Me, I would, believe it or not. I mean, maybe not because of the schoolwork or the academics, but because back in my high school days, I was very shy. I did not date. I had a few friends here and there, but I wasn't like any part of you know, like the popular students. I wasn't necessarily in that group, but there are things here now. Does it overtake my life? Does it overwhelm me today? No, but there's a little bit in the back of my head there that thinks, well, if I had done this, well, you know, maybe a few more things would have happened. But yeah, I get it. I get where you're coming from here with some of these examples, and some of our listeners out there are probably thinking, this and that apply to me as well. And as you mentioned, you know, how to overcome these, you know, for people who may be consumed, if you will, with these past regrets. How do we fix that? How do we move on from that so that these things don't bother us anymore down the road?
Well, one thing I'd like to say, Rich, it's not predictable based on those facts you gave that you would be doing the radio work you do.
No. It's hard to believe, yeah.
So you have, well, I think things that is true. That does show you overcome. Okay, well, but that doesn't, you're right, it doesn't negate these thoughts and these feelings. But here's what I think we have to do. We have to change what we can realistically. And we need to create new goals and begin to implement them, which you obviously did. We need to complete achievable goals that have been discarded and bring them back to fruition. I mean, literally, look at things we haven't done and we feel bad about and decide we're going to do them. I mean, a lot of people, not just people with ADHD, may start 10 projects. They don't finish them, and they become really upset about that, and they may have been doing it over a lifetime, so you want to look back. Then I think another key thing is you have to accept the reality of where you are, and you have to find happiness in it, okay? You have to also analyze your decision-making and make it more effective by looking at the ineffective decisions that have been made to the present. This is another thing to do, because a lot of people that have these regrets, they continue making bad decisions that relate to the same thing. And I think if we look back, we feel we've hurt others in the past. It's always good to apologize, indicate to people that, hey, you know, I did something. A person might not even remember, but it's going to make you feel good. And I think also rekindle old friendships and family relationships from the past, because a lot of times people will separate themselves, and all of a sudden, as they spend their years, they begin to think, you know, I really feel bad about that. And then I think another thing to do is seek out professional support from a career, business, spiritual, or psychological perspective. I think the important thing, Rich, is to know that however much life you have left, whatever it might be, you want to do what you can now and not focus on what you haven't done in the past. Your future begins now. That doesn't mean we can let the past go, but
right.
That if we look too much on our defeats or things we wish we had done from the past, that can fill up the present. And if you do that, you don't have much of a future. So the important thing is resolve things you can, complete things you might not have done. Otherwise, make decisions now, move forward, and try to do things that are not going to lead to regrets, including not worrying all the time, worrying
right.
about what might happen.
Right.
Because that's one thing late in life. That's one of the things people, as they're ready to pass, they'll make that comment. They worry too much. And I think I don't want to just focus on that, but that is a big one that leads to high anxiety. And then also high depression can come from feeling defeated and bad about things that have done in the past. You know, you can't do that. Life is for now and what you've got, and move forward.
Yeah, you know, apologizing for hurting others in the past, rekindling old friendships. You know, that's definitely things that stick out. Kind of with me, just based on my life experiences, and yeah, it is amazing what stuff like that could do for you. Just spiritually, even you'll feel better about yourself, and spiritually, it does a lot for you. It kind of gives you that extra pep in your step, if you will, in general. So yeah, that's really what sticks out to me, and is pretty important. It's priceless, just how overcoming this and using these steps, like you mentioned, they can do a lot for you, more so than people realize.
Well, I think that's really true, Rich. And you're not from this area. I believe you're from Ohio. So
yes. Mm-hmm.
even more, if you're thinking back of old friends or people you knew, it's always good to keep in contact and just kind of renew in the present things from the past. And I'm finding more and more people, probably I think this happened more because of COVID, that people began thinking and reaching out and making contact with other people. What also led to a time where people with hibernation, I think there was a lot of looking at perceived defeats, or why didn't I do this, or why didn't I take this opportunity? And that's always going to happen in life. Another thing, too, we can't idealize things we didn't do by thinking how perfect they would have been, because you never really know.
That's true.
Because you could move to California, you're going to be a movie star. Well, that's going to be the boulevard, if you were Hollywood Boulevard of broken
right.
dreams. So you have to be at least realistic and really make do with what you have and really enjoy it and be happy. I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people to do. And if you want to have less regrets, try a lot of different things and find things you like. If you try just one thing and you fail at it or you're not good at it, that can lead to also a regret. So just trying to have a multifaceted life to some degree, trying to do different things. But again, realizing you can't change the past. You can learn from the past.
Yes.
So if there are regrets from the past, learn from them, but move forward. But I think you, from being the shy high school student, to now I'm talking to you on the radio, and there are many people listening. In fact, you're actually the person who runs the news there. That's quite a quite a success story, Rich.
Yeah.
You know we'd be talking about you today.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, too, on radio, you're in a studio by yourself. Now, if you put me in front of the listeners and all the listeners are staring at me, and I know for sure that they're paying attention to me, might be a little more nerve-wracking, but I get what you're saying there. Great stuff here. Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services of East Lansing, human lifelong regrets and how to overcome them. Good stuff there. Dr. Braccio, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure talking to you, my friend. Bye-bye.
And you are listening to the 1320 WILS Morning Wake Up Ritual, filling in for Dave. Simon Owen from Fox News Radio on the way next. Don't go away. This is More Compelling Talk Radio 1320 WILS.